Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today's show is sponsored by one of my favorite sponsors, SunsetLakeSabadeh.com. If you use the code LEFTISBEST, you get 20% off. Sunset Lake is a mostly employee-owned farm up in Vermont. And they don't use pesticides. They use integrated pest management. They use regenerative farming practices. And they have all of their Sabadeh products are third-party tested, so you know exactly what's in there. It varies from product to product as to like concentrations of Sabadeh and Seba-N. And they have all sorts of stuff. They have tinctures that help you sleep. They have tinctures that help you relax. They have tinctures for your pets to help them chill out. They got gummies that help you focus, gummies that help you relax, gummies that help you sleep, gummies with a little bit of THC to make you have a little bit of fun, or some Delta-9. They have Sabadeh fudge and Sabadeh coffee. They have salves that help you with sore muscles, or if you use it off-label like me, with your summertime eczema. They have lotions to keep your calves from getting too dried out. I mean, you can use
as
it
they
for
do.
other things.
Yeah.
They have all sorts of great products, and they're a great company. Like I say, mostly employee-owned. $20 minimum wage when they need to hire folks to, during the harvest time and whatnot. And they are movement partners. They have donated tens of thousands of dollars to things like Planned Parenthood, strike relief funds, carceral reform, refugee resettlement. I mean, the list goes on and on. Check them out. SunsetLakeSabadeh.com. Let them know we sent you by using the coupon code LEFTISBEST, and you will get 20% off. And now time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, July 22, 2025. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Brittany Coleman, American Federation of Government Employees, Local 252, Chief Steward, an attorney for the Office of Civil Rights in Dallas. But what it's going to mean on the ground when we have basically a shattered Department of Education. Also on the program today, the House of Representatives is at a standstill as Republicans look to protect Donald Trump from the Epstein revelations. They seem to think something's going on there. Meanwhile, Trump's former defense attorney, who now happens to be the Deputy Attorney General for the United States, will just happen to be meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, to make some type of deal.
What could it be?
Trump regime releases FBI surveillance records of MLK because apparently the Washington commander stuff didn't catch fire. Israel's military attacks the World Health Organization in central Gaza amidst what could be one of this century's worst famines caused by another country. Democrats strategize a fall government budget fight, so be prepared for disappointment. We are 3 months away from the Republican-sponsored massive health insurance cost increases for upwards of 25 million Americans. Texas starts their plan to gerrymander congressional districts, hoping to pick up 5 new ones. U.S. Fire Service is short about 15% of its staff as forest fires rage. And Trump's Labor Department looking to repeal and rewrite 60 separate protections for workers because, of course, they are the party for workers. Mm-hmm. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is
Newsday Tuesday.
Newsday Tuesday. We're going to start in a few moments with a representative from of the union that represents workers for the Department of Education. Get a sense of what this is going to mean on the ground for both those workers and for the tens of millions of Americans who rely on the Department of Education, some work that they do to protect their rights or their services. We'll get into some other stuff after that, but before we do, we're seeing increasing reports of children dying of malnourishment, of widespread starvation in Gaza. This coming as we have seen daily reports of tens of people every day. Some days it's 30 people, some days it's 50 people, a couple of days it's been 100 people gunned down as they attempt to get food aid. And here is World Food Program Chief Cindy McCain on CNN.
Again, widow of John McCain. Republican.
She has been attempting to provide food aid to Palestinians in Gaza. And here she is.
This is one of the worst tragedies we've seen so far in this particular war. What happened was we had clearance to go through the Zakim gate. We were through the gate. The Israelis had, as you know, they clear everything and they decide when and if you go in. And we began our trek down the road, and what we saw were thousands of people running towards us. And they were hungry, they're starving. And all of a sudden, the Israeli tanks, Israeli guns, Israeli weapons from all kinds started firing on the crowd. And it was just, it's something that I hope never happens again. But more importantly, our group, WFP, our people that work for us were there too, and they were put in grave danger as a result of that. No humanitarian aid worker should ever be a target of anything.
Well, this follows a trend over the last 2 months where over 800 Palestinians have been killed around aid distribution sites. The majority of those are at the controversial US-backed and Israel-supported Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Can you be very specific? Are you coordinating in any way or supporting in any way that operational model? And what is your view on the GHF?
Well, we are not coordinating, and we do not work with GHF. As you know, we're a UN agency, and so we have our UN. The way the UN operates is different from what GHF is doing. I don't really have any information about them at all because we don't even talk.
I mean, like, they would have no coordination with the mercenary kind of operation by the United States that has also been reported to have been firing on Palestinians.
The host of the show said, 800, over 800 people killed
But it's not, the point is, it's not just the IDF now. Like, this is linked to
Mercenaries.
a U.S. mercenary project, and they are also implicated in reporting over the past month or so in firing on the Palestinians.
Let's just play also clip number 5. This was from over the weekend, just to give you a sense of what's happening. This is a British surgeon in Gaza, and later in the program we will play some audio, or I should say some video, from the House of Commons in England. But here's a British surgeon in Gaza describing IDF soldiers killing Palestinian children just for sport.
But my colleagues in the emergency room describe a very clear pattern where on particular days they'll see different body parts targeted. So on one day there'll all be abdominal gunshot wounds, on another day there'll all be head gunshot wounds or neck gunshot wounds, on another day there'll be arm or leg gunshot wounds. And on last Saturday there were 4 young teenage boys all brought in very, very rapidly in succession with gunshot wounds to their testicles. So they're clearly being targeted to their testicles. And this is a pattern that we're seeing every day, that these young teenage boys are systematically being targeted. And it's almost as if a game is being played, that they're deciding to shoot the head today and the neck tomorrow and the testicles the day after.
Just a horror show.
If people, it's been now, how long? 21 months of this genocide. If people want to look up the images of the children, there's at least 4 confirmed that have starved to death. You can. Or adults. They're unrecognizable.
Hundreds of thousands of people starving to death, being shot at as they flee between rubble.
If this was happening, of course, to like a group of people that the United States is aligned with, if this was happening in reverse to Israelis, to Jews, well, we've seen it happen to Jews and things like the Holocaust, but we would know exactly what this is. They are bombing the crap. They're just you see, they're just bombing rubble now, right? Because there's nothing left. And there are countless people missing by calculations that are likely under rubble, having either been blown to pieces or suffocating to death, because that's a part of why we don't know this true death tolls, because they can't account for the missing people. They're just bombing rubble at this point. Video has been released of rapes of Palestinians in prisons being shielded by other IDF soldiers.
Standing in front of the camera eye line.
They are systematically starving a group of people that cannot leave an area, and then they are concentrating them in a smaller area in the south as they militarily clear out the north of the Gaza Strip. So, we are in later stages of total extermination.
We, in the coming week or so, hope to have on a refusenik, young Israeli who is part of a hopefully growing movement in that country.
Yep.
To refuse to participate in this, and people are going to jail, and it's encouraging to see at least some dissent. Marone Rappaport also had expressed at least that there was some growing dissent within Israel, at least to maintain this ethnic cleansing of Gaza, if only because it seems a waste to some Israelis, but there's increasing, I think, some awareness of what they're doing in that country. We'll have more to talk about that later. Like I say, in the we mentioned yesterday there was 25 European countries, or some European countries, and 25 total that were demanding a cessation. And we just had 2 IDF soldiers who I think were arrested in Belgium. And so there seems to be some rumblings in Europe, and hopefully we will see more, because the administration of this country is not inclined to do anything other than to continue to green light things, as far as I can tell. But we will talk more about that later. Couple words from our sponsors. With all that said, we also know that there have been massive cuts to foreign aid. Just last week, one of the rescission bills cut nearly $8 billion in foreign aid. The Lancet in Britain suggested that by 2030, you might have 14 million people die because of those cuts. One of our sponsors today is helpful in that area. GiveWell. This has been a really a charity, I guess, portal that I've used for close to a decade, maybe 8 years. GiveWell doesn't claim to have all the answers, but over the past 18 years, the nonprofit research organization has helped guide more than 130,000 donors and $2.5 billion to highly cost-effective aid. GiveWell's researchers are analyzing the impact to cuts to U.S. aid in real time. They're sharing what they're learning with everyone for free through research updates, grant write-ups, and candid podcast conversations. GiveWell has already committed tens of millions of dollars in response to this year's cuts. Their researchers are working to forecast, find, and fund other new cost-effective needs. I found a bunch of charities over the years that I have donated to through GiveWell. They are very rigorous in their research. They post all of their research online. It's all for free. And they even have a section where they go back and look at things that they got wrong, whether it was anything ranging from a typo to data input that they did wrong or whatever. It's incredibly rigorous. For trusted, evidence-backed insights into this evolving situation and information about how you can help, you can follow along at givewell.org/USAID. That's givewell.org/USAID. We'll put that link in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. Also sponsoring the program today, another company that I used for many years before they became a sponsor. It's Delete Me. It is not hard to see headlines on a daily basis about data breaches, about regulatory rollbacks that protect your data. We are all vulnerable. Every other day, I feel like I get an email, a letter, I should say, from like some company. There's been a data breach.
Oh my gosh.
Here, have a, have a credit protection account for free for 6 months. Great. But there's something you could do about it proactively, and Delete Me makes it easy and quick and safe to remove your personal data from online. Because what happens with those data hacks is they go in, they find some information, and then they just go to data broker sites. And between the two of them, they can buy the data broker stuff. Between the two of them, they can match it up and can really wreak havoc on your identity. Delete Me does all the hard work. What it does is it wipes you and your family's personal information from data broker websites. You sign up, you provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted. Their experts take it from there. Delete Me then sends you regular personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. And Delete Me is not just a one-time service, because these data broker sites repopulate, and they also just sort of like pop back up new ones every day. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing your personal information you don't want on the internet. Now, obviously, when I started using Delete Me, a big part of it was I don't want my information out there publicly because, I've had some issues with that in the past, having done this for the past 20 years or so. But it also is incredibly helpful, particularly at a time where like all the do not registry stuff, all that stuff has been rolled back. So there's very little protection for you out there. You can get proactive. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/majority. Use the promo code majority at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/majority. Enter the code majority at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com, joindeleteme, one word, .com/majority. Code is majority. Again, we'll put that in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. Quick break. When we come back, Brittany Coleman, American Federation of Government Employees, Local 252 Chief Steward, an attorney for the Office of Civil Rights in Dallas. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigland on the Majority Report. It is a pleasure to welcome to the program Brittany Coleman, American Federation of Government Employees, Local 252 Chief Steward, an attorney for the Office of Civil Rights in Dallas under the auspices of the Department of Education. Brittany, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
We get a little bit of a lag there, but hopefully we'll take care of that in just a moment. So Brittany, just walk us through. I'm looking at well, before we get to the letter, walk us through what your position is in the Office of Civil Rights, for the Department of Education, and who your colleagues are, not just in Dallas, but across the country.
Absolutely. So I am an attorney investigator at the Office of Civil Rights. There were at one point 12 regional offices, including the regional office in Dallas where I worked in. So I had roughly 60 colleagues in my office, and we had hundreds of colleagues across the country. And what we did is that we received complaints from the public, usually parents who are concerned about issues happening with their children, who thought that their children are being discriminated against. So they file a complaint with our office. From there, I would evaluate it to see, is there a reason to think that the child may be discriminated? And if that's the case, that there may be a problem, I just do fact finding. I talk to the applicable parties. I could be teachers, principals, counselors, anybody that may have been involved in the matter, and from there just determine whether there was a concern that there was a violation of a child's civil rights based on race, color, sex, national origin, or disability.
And these are all statutory. I mean, these civil rights are statutory, and they're in statutory in terms of requirements on public schools to provide, in some instances, accommodation, or to not discriminate in some fashion.
Absolutely, that's correct. Because in my office, we enforce Title VI, which covers discrimination based on race, color, and national origin. We cover Title IX, which covers discrimination that's prohibited based on sex in both Title II and Section 4 of the Rehabilitation Act. So all of those acts are what we enforce to make sure that any school district or institution, that could be a trade school too, that gets federal funding, that they follow federal law and they don't treat different children differently because of their race or disability.
And so what is the status of your job now?
The status of my job is that I am technically still employed at the Department of Education. We've been involved in a number of lawsuits my agency has concerning the reduction in force or layoff that has happened, where we've lost by now roughly half of our staff, and a number of people have been in limbo because of those lawsuits. Unfortunately, we got a decision from the Supreme Court that removed a preliminary injunction, which stopped the RIF. So because the Supreme Court decided to make the decision that it did, it's now allowing that layoff to go forward. And a lot of my colleagues are now facing a layoff throughout the Department of Education. My office, the Office for Civil Rights, is in a different category because we are under another lawsuit. We've had a number of them where the courts are now, the agency is now prevented from carrying out that layoff with us until there's a decision on that case. So as of right now, what's happening, long story short, is that I don't have my laptop. I don't have access to agency systems. I can't work on any cases. My colleagues are in the same boat. So I'm technically still employed, but I'm not able to do the work that I was hired to do.
And we should be clear, a RIF is a reduction in force. And the argument that the administration is making is we don't need these people to fulfill the mission of the department. Now, that's the official argument. I feel comfortable, I don't know if you do, saying they just want to destroy the Department of Education. I think they've said that publicly, or at least some...
Trump says he wants to eliminate it.
I think it's been literally articulated, but within the context of the legal arguments they're making, they are trying to argue that we don't need all these people. Aside from the fact that, what it's doing directly to people like yourself, they seem to have targeted specific departments in the Department of Education, which they're either going to farm out or just, I guess, eliminate the functions totally. Do you have a sense of what the breakdown is of that?
We're getting bits and pieces, and luckily I'm still on my union capacity, so I'm able to sit in on meetings. So I can tell you that, for instance, the Institute of Education Sciences, that is our data component. So what that unit does is that it collects education data from around the country, and it just sees, how well students are doing and just reports that data out. They don't have any, skin in the game as far as the outcomes looking one way or the other. Unfortunately, that unit has been almost completely decimated. There are very few people left. They might have had, a couple hundred people, and now they're down to, in like maybe 20 to 30. So that was a huge reduction in that department. For the Office for Civil Rights, I think we've lost over half of our investigators. That's another issue. I think we have maybe close to 560 people across the country in our 12 regional offices. They closed 7 of those regional offices. So now we're down to maybe 200 and something investigators, which is a huge cut for our area as well. I can say within federal student aid, that is another big component at the Department of Education. That's our biggest area because they handle things like federal student aid and Pell grants and, other financial areas, and also auditing, to make sure that those schools are compliant with the law as well. The component that usually enforces and makes sure that for-profit institutions, are compliant with the law, that area in particular, that accountability area, that oversight area was almost completely gutted. They went from 9 offices down to about 2. So what we're seeing is that, there are areas that have just been completely decimated that had very key roles in just really watching where the money went to schools, or, seeing what happens when schools use that money and determining whether the schools were actually living up to what they needed to do to make sure our kids are prepared for their next steps.
All right. I got a lot of questions about this, but in the wake of the Supreme Court case, my understanding is that the subsidiary cases can go forward, but in the meantime, the department can fire all these people. And I guess presumably if they lose the case, they'd have to rehire either these same people or other people, right? I mean, is that the question on us in terms of the subsidiary cases? Is the question like, are you legitimately able to complete the function or fulfill the function of the department with these reductions in employees, or are you just pretending? I mean, that's sort of the broad strokes of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, my union certs, I cert in my union capacity, and a lot of other stakeholders, which includes, 21 attorneys generals, a number of nonprofits, we all assert that they cannot do the work that they are statutorily obligated to do. As I mentioned with IES, the data component, they are statutorily required to provide that information. And now you don't have enough people to provide that. With the Office for Civil Rights, we're statutorily required to enforce the statutes that I mentioned and to do so and to remedy those cases within generally 180 days. We are not able to do so at our current staffing levels. So that's the long and short of it. And truthfully, they're just not able to do it. I know that there have been assertions made by people within the agency and the administration that is what's happening, but that's not what we're seeing on the ground.
And so what happens to those people now if they get fired? Like, I mean, we're talking about your colleagues. Are in your division, is everybody just basically on paid leave, or have people been fired and then said, I've got to go find a different job, and would be presumably they'd go and look to rehire these people? I mean, and it also, I don't mean to throw too much at one time, but it also seems to me that the people that you've talked about so far who are parties to this case are the employees and the states who require the services, essentially, of the Federal Department of Education to fill their obligation on a school level. But it seems to me at one point, there's going to be standing for specific students who feel their rights have been violated and that the Department of Education doesn't have the capacity to address that like they are statutorily obligated to. And then I would imagine just the general student population could argue, because you're not assessing how schools are doing by aggregating this data, I'm also not getting the statutorily required quality public education by the own definition that the U.S. government has set, in that there was an obligation to get this data in the first place. So I don't mean to throw too many questions at you one time, but what's the status of the employees now? And then do you anticipate there are going to be other cases brought by students at one point?
Okay, sure. So that's, that you have to break it down in a couple of groups as far as where the employees are right now. So you have employees like me who are in the Office for Civil Rights because we have an injunction from another case that was actually brought by people who have complaints within our office. They actually were a party to a lawsuit. That case is currently under injunction. So we are technically still employed. We're just not able to do our work because we lost access to our laptops and equipment. So then you have other people who were impacted by this, soon to be reduction in force and layoff, who are in federal student aid, IES, our Office of General Counsel, and a number of other areas that were told by the agency as soon as the Supreme Court decision came down on, I think it was last Monday, the 14th. By 4 p.m. that day, they received an email saying that, oh, by the way, your last day is going to be August 1st. So now we have people who are under the pressure, realizing that, oh man, I'm about to lose my job. Like, even though I see that we're not providing these services to the American public and I'm about to lose my livelihood and ability to provide for my kids, that's happening on August 1st because the Supreme Court decision is allowing them to do so for all the other areas. And, as I mentioned, for the case for the Office for Civil Rights, that was actually brought in part by people who have complaints with our office who have seen the investigations just get completely stalled because of this reduction in force. It's like we're not able to work on their cases, and these people have suffered legitimate harms. I mean, the facts that I read in the case are just horrific. Like, you have a child that was discriminated against and bullied because of their race, and you have another child that was bullied and harassed because of their disability. And, if the facts that are alleged are true, then that's horrific. And that's something we would normally intervene to rectify and try to fix. And now those cases are at a standstill.
Your colleagues, what either the bucket that you're in or the bucket of folks that are affected by the Supreme Court decision, can you just explain a little bit of more about the character of their work? Because the administration wants to talk about these people as career bureaucrats or political appointees, or they try to obfuscate what people actually are motivated by when they go into public service. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So I can't say enough positive things about my colleagues who are all dedicated to public service. And I think one thing that gets missed is that, we're people and we have backgrounds too that led us to where we are, and we realize how education and helped that. I can say that I personally benefited from receiving federal student aid and work study and loans that allowed me to go to law school and to go to college. We have a number of people at my job who are veterans who served our country in one capacity, put their bodies on the line, and were prepared to give the ultimate sacrifice. And then when they came back, decided to continue to serve the public by helping with education. You have a number of people who are former teachers, including the local president of our union. We all believe in serving our communities. We all believe that we got something and we had opportunities because of the things that were long and hard fought for that we were able to achieve, like having federal student aid and, knocking down issues of discrimination so that we could all have the same chance to achieve. And we believe that other kids should have that same right. So honestly, it's been very disheartening to see that we've been painted with this broad stroke and broad brush when, we're people too. We're in your communities. We're in your places of worship. We're volunteering at your schools, and a lot of us have kids too that we care about, and we want to make sure that everything is better for them in the future. So we're not motivated by who's in office. We're apolitical. We're motivated by making sure that our kids have better opportunities than what we had.
What's your sense? I mean, obviously, I would imagine this sense would be informed by, the city, the state that you live in, for anybody. But what's your sense about the public's perception of this, of what's happening, specifically in terms of the Department of Education?
I think that, and really, I'm actually glad that you asked this, Sam, because I think this is giving a chance to correct, quite a bit of misinformation. I think a lot of people think that the Department of Education is around to tell states and local school districts how they're supposed to teach and educate their children, which that is, far from the case. That's not what's happening. What we are here to do is to provide financial assistance and guidance and accountability for making sure that students are not treated differently in schools. And unfortunately, I think a lot of that misinformation has been spread under this administration. And, it's not just this administration. I have to say that, there are members of Congress who have impacted that too. I can say, living here in Texas, that I have been, honestly disappointed in the fact that my senators and my congressional representative, are aware of what's happening because they have an office in Dallas. Well, we have one. And they're not stepping up and speaking out on our behalf and making sure that people understand how we actually help fund, after school programs and fund special education in our states to make our states better. So I think that, we also have to look at the lens and that it kind of depends on where we live too. And so I can say experiencing that living in Texas has been one thing, as opposed to looking at the other states that actually joined in on the lawsuit to save our agency.
Right.
I can tell you Texas was not one. So I think that's, getting the word out and just helping people to realize it's more than what you may be hearing on TV. Please listen to the people who are actually doing the work and hearing what we're saying. It's like, we're not here to tell you what to do, but we are here to make sure that people are treated fairly and that you are not coming more out of pocket for services that you should get from the federal government. That's another thing I think that's not getting talked about. Like, with these services that we're seeing getting cut, including, $6 billion of funding that's being withheld arbitrarily by, the education secretary right now. This is less funding that schools in, rural areas and schools in, low income areas and just across the country have to provide after school programs and to provide other things that your communities may need to help support your students. And what does that mean for their budgets this year for school districts? It means that things could get cut. And I think a lot of people aren't seeing that because all we're hearing is that we're taking things, sending stuff back to the states. Well, things were already at the state level. We never had it, but we are here to make sure that you can do more at the state level than what you would have just relying on state funding.
And this couldn't, I guess, indecision or lack of clarity as to what's happening with those funding, in the middle of July, you got public schools that are basically trying to anticipate what are they going to do with kids. All these after school programs are going to get cut for so many kids across the country. It's going to, I think it's going to be devastating. And I guess lastly, like what you have these multiple cases that are going on, right, about the various aspects of the DOE. And now the Supreme Court has not really addressed the case on the merits. It only basically said that there was they basically said there's an urgent need to fire these people. So go ahead, fire them, and then we'll decide whether or not they were needed. It just seems completely ass backwards. For lack of a better term. But is it conceivable that you would have circuit courts in different parts of the country say, no, to uphold these acts in the Civil Rights Act and in the Education Acts, we need these lawyers. And you would have that in one circuit court, but a different circuit would say something differently. Is it conceivable that there would be DOE civil rights lawyers operating in one part of the country, but not the other part of the country?
I mean, based on the court cases, it's possible, but I would say based on what we're seeing under this administration with the secretary, sending out an email to all of us saying that we're preparing for our final mission, it really seems as though the whole point is to get rid of the whole agency. And I would say that's currently what we're having right now. We have certain offices that are open across the country, but the intent is still there from what we can tell, that the intent is to get rid of our agency. So right now, we technically do have people that are operating in different areas, without a circuit split. But based on what's happening with the Supreme Court now, and what we're seeing our agency do and seeing Congress really not intervene on, it looks like they're aiming to just get rid of the whole agency. I'm not sure if it means that we'll have people going forward. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I interrupted you. Is that the language you're hearing? Final mission? Like internally?
Yes, we actually, yes, that is actually what we received. So, and that's been documented in court cases too. It's like that, it's been documented in the news. It's like it was very set that, the intent was to get rid of the agency, which has been our whole concern this whole time. And even though that is not within the agency's discretion or the secretary's discretion. That is only a power that's set aside by Congress. The concern is that because of doing things like this reduction in force, that is what you're trying to carry out anyway. So as of right now, yes, we do have people that are handling cases across the country. They're not able to handle those cases because we keep getting, tens of thousands of cases each year, and they increase each year. So we currently have people working on things now, but I can't tell you if that's going to continue to be the case, especially when you see those early reports in the media. And really, if you look at Project 2025, the whole point is to get rid of our agency.
What can folks, listeners do?
I encourage everyone, especially if you live in a congressional district or or state that's governed by Republicans, that's your House representatives and your senators. I encourage you to call your representatives. We as the union, we are doing what we can to fight back. You see that people are, moving forward with lawsuits, including nonprofits, but it's going to take everybody getting involved and speaking out and saying, hey, I'm very concerned that children are not going to get the services they need if they have special needs. Or, hey, I'm concerned that, student athletes who are, women may not get the same opportunities as men because they are women. Or, hey, I'm concerned that a student may not have the same opportunities to get into gifted and talented classes or AP classes because they're Black. If you're concerned about all of these things or concerned about making sure you have access to federal aid and Pell Grants, please call your representatives and tell them these things and let them know that the Department of Education needs to be held as status quo, which means don't fire anybody and let these people get back to work. And I would say that's not just for, congressional representatives too, because I think that states that are led by Republicans are just as complicit. That includes my state of Texas, that is led under Republicans, that actually flew out to DC to see and witness the executive order being signed to dismantle our agency. So I think you also have to hold your state representatives accountable too, because at the end of the day, education is led by the states. So you need to hold them as accountable as well and call them and let them know that you're very concerned about what's happening, that you need federal funding, and that this is what makes our schools and our kids have a better future is when we actually invest in them and that we don't turn down investments from the federal government over, silly partisan ideologies. What matters is that we're investing in our kids. So they need to call all of these people and let them know and tell them that we need to keep the department as is. And really, we need more people hired. We're trying to get rid of people now. We didn't have enough people to handle all the work we had in the first place. We need more people too.
Brittany Coleman, American Federation of Government Employees Local 252 Chief Steward and Attorney at the Office for Civil Rights in Dallas, to the extent that that office is open. Thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, folks.
Thank you.
Let's do something crazy and go into the fun half.
What?
7 minutes early.
Whoa.
We've got a bunch of stuff.
Pretty much right on time.
I mean, it's 5 minutes later than it should have been when we started this program 15 years ago, but mission creep.
We won't rest.
Folks, it's your support that makes this show possible. When you become a member of the Majority Report at jointhemajorityreport.com, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but you get to join us in the fun half, and you can IM us and watch me ignore your IMs. We've got a lot to talk about in the fun half, like the fun story of the Trump Labor Department looking to roll back over 60 protections for labor.
I left my kazoo at home.
Exactly. Also, we could talk about the laugh riot story of the 15 to 20% increases you can anticipate in your insurance because of the Republican big, beautiful bill and their failure to extend ACA subsidies. So that's going to be great.
There actually is going to be some fun. We're going to talk about Vinny being gaslit by the PBD crew. So
yes, and then we will get into. Oh, and what about those two guys from the guys from up north? What do they call it?
The Nelk Boys.
Yeah. But what was the name of those guys in the SCTV show? We could pull that clip.
The Great White North.
Yeah, the Great White North guys deciding to platform a 20th century Hitler or 21st century Hitler, I guess. And we got a lot more in store for you. It's going to be so much fun, and you can join us there. Maybe we'll also do the Hunter Biden stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Hunter Biden went on Channel 5. It was.
He's my new hero.
I know.
Not because of the crack recipe. I didn't.
80% of what he said I like, but it's all in defense of his father's 2024 presidential run. Which
that's the part where he, I can't with him.
No. He was right to drop out. It would have been way worse if Kamala Harris hadn't come into the race. This is indisputable.
But he does make some points about the positions that Democrats should be taking and what the advice that they're getting, generically speaking, from. I mean, he aggrandizes his father in the course of that. But I really do think if you listen carefully, what he's saying is Democrats need to separate themselves from Republicans and fight for it. Now, to the extent that Joe Biden did that, people can argue. But
Biden's best trait, arguably, was his disgust for the Obama, Harvard, Yale intelligentsia that was stacked in the administration that he felt was kind of anti-populist, elitist, and condescending. And I feel that's kind of how things went. I mean, Rahm Emanuel was a part of that, talking about how anybody who was advocating for single payer was the R word. That is the one thing Biden was super correct about.
Also, Hack All Things reminds me to stop ignoring Twitch and say poggers. So, I may even do more of that in the fun half. I may say poggers 3 more times in the fun half.
You might get on the poggers train.
Exactly. You mean a hype train.
Oh, sorry.
Emma doesn't get it.
I'm not.
Folks, also Just Coffee, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee. Use the coupon code Majority. You can buy the Majority Report blend. Check it out. I don't know if the WTF blend is going to go away when Marin's show does. I bet it won't.
Maybe we could call it the Majority Report 2 blend.
Yeah. I will bring that up with them.
The second blend, the beta blend.
Oh, and I would love to have, exactly. Majority Report beta. We should have Marin on before his show's over and make the announcement on air. That would be fun.
We've bought the IP.
Yeah. We're a hostile takeover of his coffee.
Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Tonight Alex Salmon of Salon on to talk about a piece he did about the Roosevelt Hotel, which had become basically a migrant processing and housing center, and how people were calling it sort of the modern Ellis Island before it got demonized by the right wing and abandoned by the liberals, especially Eric Adams. And it made me depressed because it made me think of, despite even the Trumpy members of my family still having this sort of, we came through Ellis Island mythology, sort of in family history latent there. If we did an Ellis Island now, the right wing would have Steven Crowder talk about, look at how gross these people are.
Absolutely. 100%.
Patreon.com/LeftReckon. That's tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern on YouTube.
See you in the fun half.
Three months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go wow. What? What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second.
The Majority Report.
Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.
What is up, everyone?
Nomi Key.
You did it.
Fun.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.